Hey, thanks for joining us on the Eat Crunchy podcast. We are three sisters on a journey towards healthy lives using Weight Watchers to get there. We'd love to hear about your journey as well on our Facebook page or at eatcrunchy.com. Hey, everybody. We are so happy to be with you today on another podcast for Eat Crunchy. It's Lisa and Rebecca here today. Heidi's not with us.
Hello.
And the topic we're going to talk about feeds into that. So Lisa and I have been on a road trip this week, driving cross country. And so we wanted to talk about what makes it hard to be healthy on a road trip because we found some areas of success and some areas of struggle. And we're curious about your thoughts as well. So that's kind of what we're going to be chatting about today. So let's talk about first, what are some of the challenges of a road trip? And I'll kind of go, Lisa, and then you can give your thoughts too.
Okay.
So from my perspective, a couple things. One, you're obviously on the road, so you don't have access to your kitchen, to kind of your routine and the way that you normally do things. Another challenge that I'd anticipated is that my brain kind of goes on holiday mode when I go on a road trip. I think, woohoo, vacation, which of course means I can eat anything I want. So I have to battle that. The third thing that I noticed as a challenge that I did not anticipate, but was part of my downfall of this trip, was making decisions when I'm really, really tired. So we'll talk a little bit more in a second about what things went well and what didn't go well. But I think that one thing I didn't anticipate was that when I am really tired and I'm traveling, it's harder for me to make good choices. And those are the times that I'm most vulnerable to fall back into old habits, or for that part of me that says eat whatever you want to take over. So those are some of the things that I thought are a challenge to road trips. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
So yeah, I agree with that. The other thing that I thought about was, I think there's just this habit that, and maybe it's from when we were kids and we would go on road trips or something, but when you're going to get in a car for a long time, you have to have a lot of food with you, right? Lest you find yourself in the middle of a desert and there's no food anywhere, which of course is never true. But you must have, not just a little bit of food. And this is not just life-saving food. Right. This is like Doritos and, Little Debbie's. And so I was we'll talk about the successes. I was proud that we really didn't do that very much. But I felt like that's one thing is in the car, I just felt like, well, whoa, where's all of our snacks we got to have? What if we can't find food later?
That's right.
In this fast food nation where there's food everywhere. So that was one thing that just I had to change my mindset about. And then the other thing is I noticed that the other habits of like when you stop for gas, I always think, okay, well, let's go walk around the convenience store and let's see what little snacks I need for the next time. So just having snacks while you're driving for me is a big challenge because I just for some reason associate long trips with lots of food. And can I just say an anecdote? Do you remember when you and I were living in Utah? This is a long held habit.
I know where this is going.
We were living in Utah and we decided we were going to go on a hike. A few miles of a walk, whatever. But it was through the mountains.
That makes it a hike if it's
in the mountains. That makes it a hike because there's a mountain around us. So, and we decided because we were going on this hike, we had to bring all this food with us, lest we starve.
No, it was healthy-ish. I mean, granola bars and things that you would expect to take on a hike, but
we packed a lot of stuff
in
our fanny packs and our little backpacks and stuff. So, and then we ended up, of course, not going as far as we thought we were going to go. And so we basically kind of went on a walk, sat down, ate a bunch of food, and then came back because we have this starvation mentality.
That's true.
And I think that comes anytime there's a chance that your routine is going to be disrupted, such as when you're traveling. I feel like I get this starvation mentality, and that's one of the tough things. Anyway, so that's the tough things about being on vacation and eating healthfully.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I know, we're kind of speaking to the road trip that we've recently had, but I think that these concepts apply to any vacation, any road trip, any sort of activity that's outside of the normal. There are these things that can pop up, like kind of going into that starvation mode. So let's talk about things that
perceived starvation mode.
That's right. Because y'all, I could go a long time without food. I wouldn't starve. That's just the honest truth.
Oh my god!
I got a lot of food supply on me.
Okay, all right, move along.
So things that went well. Okay, so my plan had been. Let's start there. My plan had been. I'd gone to a Weight Watchers meeting and I spent some time thinking about it. And I talked about it in the meeting, like things that I could do ahead of time to prepare. So I had planned on taking for in the car food, some clementines and grapes and things that were nice and healthy, lots of bottles of water. That was the glorious plan that was in front of me. But then I had a super busy week and wasn't able to accomplish that. So we started off with no healthy or unhealthy food in the car is kind of where we started, which ended up, I think, being a good thing that we didn't have lots of food. But so what are some things that went well?
Well, so, I mean, first of all, I agree with you, just sort of resisting the temptation to pack the car with Doritos, which is, I really want. Every time we stopped, I was like walking down the chip aisle. I mean, we were looking for snacks. I feel like we did a good job of not doing that. The other thing is, I feel like we made really decent choices in terms of where we had lunch. We had Subway one day. We had Chick-fil-A. We ate at the all-you-can-eat little breakfast thing that they have at the hotel we were at, and I feel like we made decent choices there. You know, they give you types of food that's completely outside of plan, and I didn't feel like I went crazy. I did have some of it, but I didn't go crazy. But so I think that when we had the choice in front of us, we stopped, we planned, we thought about it, and we did a decent job of picking places that I thought were, even though we knew we weren't going to be perfect.
Right.
I feel like we stayed relatively close as you can when you're eating out of fast food restaurants and stuff.
Well, I think you hit on something big there, which is that we knew that we wouldn't be perfect. And I think that having an expectation that's realistic can be helpful. I know at the meetings they talk about, is this week a week of a loss, a staying the same, or a gain? And kind of setting yourself up for that one way or the other. And I don't actually really like that a ton, but the concept that, I'm not going to be 100% perfect. I'm not going to hold myself to a standard that I can't manage. And so recognize that that's okay. I think is a big deal. Another thing that we did is we had water. I drink a lot of water on our trip.
Because you are the water queen.
I do like water.
We also stopped a lot for bathrooms.
Perhaps there's a connection.
Maybe they're related.
Between those two. And when we stopped, I tried to do a little bit of movement. I had again, glorious plans of like jogging around the gas station, and that didn't happen. But I did do some jogging in place and stretching and things like that just to kind of help my body feel a little bit more active.
Yeah, and I think we did a good job of not... Oh, another thing I think we did is we really tried not to push ourselves to the point of severe exhaustion. I mean, we were obviously tired because we had a lot of miles to get, but we also made a point to really try to get up in the morning, which is that's another thing I don't do well on trips is I think hotel free.
That's right.
They made the bed for me. I didn't have to make it. It's so nice to be here. And I just want to stay until I always do late checkouts. And then my day starts really late, but we actually made goals to get up in the morning. And that way in the evening, we were there at a decent hour. And then as things, slowed us down throughout the day, like losing an hour, when you drive eastward. I'm still bitter about that.
And then daylight savings time.
And then we had daylight. We lost 2 hours this weekend. Yeah. So, but I mean, having unexpected things happen, and then it ends up you get to the hotel later than you even wanted to, because that always happens when you travel. So by planning to get there fairly early, we still got a decent night's sleep, both the nights that we were traveling. I felt like that was a positive thing, and that also kind of, when you talk about being tired. When you're totally exhausted, you make worse decisions. Yeah. I feel like we at least tried to not be so exhausted, although we obviously were tired.
Well, and, knowing how my body works, I know that when I have lots of sodium, that my body doesn't function very well. Mm-hmm. And so that was another thing in the times that I did well, I made food choices that helped, that were not packed with sodium.
You did. You were looking for, like, vegetables and salads and stuff. I thought that was good.
But there are also a lot of things we did not do well. And I'll start this one off.
There were some.
Well, we did some.
Okay.
For me, the last, we've been driving, and the reason we're doing this is because Lisa's moving.
We'll talk more about that in the next podcast.
We'll talk more about that. And so we had to not only get up here, but then unpack all of her things and move her in and all that stuff. And the last probably 36 hours that we've been doing all of that, I've been really tired, and I have not made healthy food choices. And so I've not overeaten, which I think is a big deal because I tend to do that when I'm really tired. But I've had a lot more sodium the last 36 hours and have not made as healthy of food choices. So, and I think that had I not been as tired, or had I planned to be tired and planned to have healthy food around, I could have done a little bit better with that.
I definitely think that when we started, we were stronger.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like as you keep going on vacation, you keep making these little adjustments, and I can have that. I'm on vacation, and I feel like we get more mentally tired as days have gone forward. Mm-hmm. That it gets harder to sort of have the same strength that maybe we had on our first day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Also, there's a lot of things to celebrate right now with lots of changes happening, and it kind of feels like I just deserve to celebrate.
Equaling food.
Ice cream, yeah. So I do think for me when I travel, I just love ice cream so much. I can't even. I should. Lisa and ice cream. There have been love songs about us. I just love ice cream, and I feel like that's one of the places that I just always go. Yes, we did get ice cream, but I wanted it after every meal, and I did at least avoid that. But I've had more than I should have. But so yeah, that's probably just kind of the mental and physical exhaustion that comes after a few days of just trying to manage the trip and then also trying to be healthy at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we are really curious to hear about what you guys do. What's helpful for you? What's not so helpful for you? When you travel, when you vacation, what are things that are going well? We really appreciate the feedback that we get from you. We heard from one of the people that listens to our podcast this week. They noticed that we hadn't posted on time, and we appreciate that accountability. Make sure that we're posting when we need to, but and that we're prioritizing things. So anyway, let us know what your experience is, what goes up, what goes down, and we'll talk to you soon.
Adios.